Welcome to the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by Growth Experts. You're in store for a chat about funding, marketing, startups, and all things growth.
Hello and welcome back to the Funded Now What podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lee Miller, also known as Andrew Startups. I'm super excited because today we've got Victor Cho, who's the founder and CEO of Emovid, a B2B software company that's reinventing the way that we communicate with video and every other channel too. It's really interesting. I'm going to let him explain it in a second, but Victor just raised $7 million to basically transform the way we communicate as business people and professionals through technology. Victor, thank you so much for coming here.
Andrew, pleasure.
Awesome. So I didn't do the best job. I don't do that much research on purpose because I want to learn about you on the fly and show that I'm able to come up with marketing advice on the fly for new projects. But give us the 30-second pitch. Like, what is this company and how are you able to raise so much money for such a cool project?
Yeah, so Emovid at a very high level it's a revolution in communication, right? If you think about how we have communicated in its business-focused product, if you think of the digital forms of communication up until now, there are things that everybody on this call uses. It started with email. I'm old enough to remember when Hotmail came,
Yeah,
it
me
was
too.
purchased by Microsoft, right? So I know the world before email is like, holy cow, email transformative. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Video conferencing, which, even though we're on a podcast, right, I can look you in the eye, Andrew, and we can build
Yeah.
a connection, right? So foundational, we all got familiar with that. If we weren't
Mm-hmm.
before COVID, then clearly with COVID. And then some companies are in what I call pseudo-synchronous or pseudo real time on things like
Mm-hmm.
Slack, which is getting or Slacker teams, right? Which is still very much text, text and maybe image document centric,
Right.
right? Back and forth. What we're building with Emovid is the key missing piece, which has never gotten traction in business, which is, well, what about highly emotional, video centric, but asynchronous communication, right?
Okay.
You've got video, you've got real time video, that works great. But what if I just want to send you a message? So you can kind of think of it like video messaging on steroids. But the reality is, in this age of AI, it's become so much more than that. It's clear to me now that a couple of years into this, that this is a new communication type that hasn't existed before. And so we refer to it now as multimodal, which might be a horrible marketing word because nobody people's like, what does that mean? But it's video, it's audio, it's text, it's translation, it's all of the ways that you might communicate wrapped into a package, delivered asynchronously, back and
Okay.
forth.
Okay, that sounds awesome. And I don't think multimodal is bad, especially if you can own it and be the first to really use it. But, and I don't, being like devil's advocate, how is it different than what's already out there? I can send a Slack message on video, an audio clip on WhatsApp. I mean, when you're saying multimodal, it's pinging someone the same video in a bunch of different places at the
It
same
is. So,
time,
so the
or
workflow, yeah, is very, very simple and gets to kind of maybe the heart of some of these differences of some of these other systems. So yeah, your core base message, you record a message with a video signal. So that already
right,
kind of differentiates us from, I'm sure a ton of your audience has used audio recording or received audio recording. That's like a
right,
dual modal form of communication, right? If you
okay,
think about it. And why do people do it? People do it because you talk faster than you can type with your little fingers and
right,
it conveys emotion, right? So now, but that's just two transports, right? We've got all of the transports, and video is, of course, the richest way to communicate with someone is to be able to see them and look them in the eye,
100%,
read their facial expression, right? But you don't do that. Like you can't drop big files on people and send them in their email, which is literally
totally,
like a lot of these systems that you're talking about, or they haven't built the frictionless, no overhead. Let me just make it one click and send. And so
hmm
that's the key thing is you could drop a big video file to somebody and record it and send it, but
it
no one's
doesn't
going to
work
want
a
to read
lot.
it and it's going to clog up their
Uh,
email, right? And
yeah,
so all of
that
our,
that
our oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
Yeah,
that has happened to me a lot. Like I'll send a long rant video to a coworker on
yeah.
Slack, like multi minutes, and then it will be like, oh, file can't upload. And I'm like, I can't possibly
No,
remember everything
no, that's right.
that I said. I mean, it's detrimental as
It
a
is. It is.
CEO
And
sometimes.
this, this is a simple. This sounds like such a simple thing in the experience. I think people at this point now, it's so funny how people get so quickly attuned to technology. But so if you record a video on our system and you send it, right, it'll get deconstructed, transcribed, and of course summarized with an AI. So the mail or the message that you get will say, oh yeah, here's an underlying message, but what is Andrew talking about, or what is Victor talking about? Like it's this quick capsule summary. The ability to
Nice.
summarize a video accurately was not possible before generative AI.
Right.
Like that
No.
was an impossible technology challenge up until just recently. And that's just one example where, it's funny that, when Digvijay, who's one of the original co-founders of this, came to me a couple of years ago and said, like, why aren't we sending billions of messages back and forth using video in business? I'm like, why aren't we? And that took me down the arc of, wow, there's a lot of problems that are not solvable until like right now, right?
Yeah.
And that's just one of them. That's just one of them. So
Makes sense. Um, I had a client in the video space in the past, and normally I go into the fundraising stuff immediately, but this is so fucking cool. I want to keep talking about this product a little bit longer. We worked on a dating app where you would send videos to each other, and it was a great product. It was amazing. It was pre-COVID
yeah,
actually, which but the issue that killed it was people don't want to send a video of themselves. Like they
yes,
actually don't want to have their
yes,
camera on. So
yes,
how are you guys, going to be the champions of video if we can't get people over the hump of
yeah.
wanting to put their face on camera? We hate ourselves. We hate the I haven't shaved my head this week. I've got this little bald spot or whatever it is.
We do.
How
So
do you get people to use
this is
video?
if you ask me kind of what is the core thing that we're going to build that's unique, in some ways it's less a frictionless platform that adjusts videos to the cloud and is secure, right? All of that stuff. I call those known problems. Yeah, the big
Right.
thing that we solve over time, and literally, I think I have probably a 5-year roadmap in my head of all the different things that are going to finally be able to be solved because of the combination of AI and technology. But no, you're exactly right. They get to the heart of addressing some of these things. So I'll just give you two simple examples. Um, One obvious friction point that people have is I have a hard time just talking off the cuff, right? Like it's
Yeah.
it's hard for me. And so one thing that we've built in from almost day one, actually we've got a patent on this, right? Integrated AI right into the video. So right when you're there recording, the AI can assist you in what you're saying.
Wow.
You can put notes in, and all that can show up in a teleprompter, real
Wow.
time, right, with one click. So there are technologies that exist out there, but you have to put it all together into this one click. Like, oh, like help me with the way I think of that from a product perspective is how do we help people with what they need to say, right, and take some of that friction out. So that's just one vector. There's another vector
That's
which is
cool.
how do you look good, right? And so
That's what I was gonna say.
right in our product we've got all the basic stuff you'd expect. Change your background, blur your background, facial smoothing, which I can't remember if I've got applied on. I actually kind of look this way normally,
You
but
look great. You look great.
but we've got that to a degree. And then what you don't see if you go to our website, which is emovid.com, emovid, you will not see anything in terms of our generative AI, but that is going to be coming very quickly. And that will, unfortunately, I can't say a ton about that other than it will, I think, solve that problem of like, I don't look quite good enough for business in a way that I think is going to blow people's minds.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, that's really exciting. I mean, marketing is going to be really important key for adoption there. You need to really explain to people like you're not ugly, but we make you more
Yeah.
confident, and so that's really interesting. I mean, even like at the B2B level, how do you sell that to the company? I mean, I guess the end goal for the company is just smoother asynchronous communication,
Yeah.
right? But then the individual employee, like the adoption, I've also worked on many projects, but one that came to mind where we sold to companies for the employees, specifically like
Hmm.
B2B2C or B2B2E. And it is tough. It's always a challenge to increase the adoption because sometimes companies pay for something as kind of a good PR stunt to show they care about their
Yeah.
employees. Look at we're investing in this for you, and then they don't follow up and push employees enough. It takes
Yeah.
like some education. You have to like pay someone from your team as part of the package to come and do an implementation virtual event to teach employees. Like, are you guys going to make like a knowledge base or like just have an AI chat bot that they can like? How are you going to get employees to use it?
Yeah, so it's funny. So before I ran this business, I ran Evite, which is the big online U.S. invitation network. There are
Oh
actually a
yeah.
ton of similarities. It's one of the reasons I got excited about this is the
Mhm.
marketing motion for something like Evite, even though that was in the consumer space, is this inherently communicative and viral experience, right? So if I realize that, hey, wow, Emovid is cool. This asynchronous thing is so powerful, which it is, and I'll kind of describe that in a second. But then I send that to you, and you receive it. You get the product experience right there, right? You were like,
Hmm.
wow, I didn't even think about being able to send right an asynchronous multimodal message before. And then you could literally get one click reply. You don't need an app. You don't need a download. Everything is built on a web harness
Wow.
by design, right? So you can
Important.
instantly be in a
Start using
two-way
it.
back and forth, see how easy it is. So that's one of the core way. At my core, well, oh yeah, we'll have tutorials and onboardings and all of that stuff. But literally, I want to build a product that's so easy that you get one, you're like, I want it. Click a button and you can start sending. Like it'll get down to that
It's
easy.
amazing. And it's funny you mentioned Hotmail. Now I know why you brought it up at the
Yeah,
beginning, because that was the original first growth hacking
yeah,
strategy of all time. You would get a message and it said, get your free email address from Hotmail. And the virality of
yeah.
that was incredible. And I think if you can bake that into your product, it's like the ultimate viral coefficient, like
That's right.
I got to see the product I won't take the whole podcast just to grill you on it, but it sounds like you're thinking about marketing from the beginning. We'll get to
Yeah,
marketing stuff in the beginning, but since it's called Funded Now What, I got to ask at least one question related to the
yeah,
fundraising. Um, you know, how hard was it to raise this round for such a unique product? What kind of learnings can you share
yeah. So, and this will actually sound horribly self-serving, but it is completely
there?
true.
You use the product. Is that what you're
Apps,
about to say?
no, of course. So what? So what a moment allows you to do in a crazy powerful way is you get to multiply your ability to have deep trust building relationship threads at
Hmm.
scale, right? Because
Yeah,
it's hard to get someone like email is increasingly going to become degraded by AIs. You're going to be like, did I even write who wrote
it's
this,
happened.
right?
It's
It's already
already
happening,
happened.
right? So now you're left today without a Movid, you're left with two ways to actually really communicate with someone, in person or Zoom. And now you got to schedule those things, right? So you've
Yeah.
immediately put this huge barrier. So with the Movid, you get this, I call it the magic wand. It's like with a Movid, you get to basically wave a magic wand and put somebody in the room and say something to them with all of your emotion and tone and potentially have them say something back, but on your own time. So that superpower is actually crazy. So I would not have been able to raise the funds. I mean, I had hundreds of face-to-face interactions with different investors happening simultaneously in very
Hmm.
short order in a way that was impossible before. So I'd say that was one. Highly recommend anyone raising funds to
Amazing.
use this. Um,
Yeah.
maybe more important, yeah, but I'm being a little facetious, but
I mean,
true.
use it for anything. Job searching. I'd say everything is a funnel. And the
Yeah.
more, sorry to interrupt you, but the
Yeah.
more you're talking about this, I think, you know what? I actually tell friends that are job searching, send a video to every single founder that you're trying to interview with. You move to the very top of the
Yes.
list because like you said, they're getting hundreds of emails, they're getting
Yes.
thousands of applications, but maybe two people will have the
That's right.
balls to send a
That's right.
video. So but when you say multiple at the same time, you're still making a custom video for each of those investors that you're
You
sending
are.
out.
You are. But it's
But
so
maybe it's only
fast because you
taking
talk,
yeah.
the average person talks 5 times faster than they type,
Yeah,
right?
so you're taking a minute to send a video, then it's
Exactly.
blasting it and
Versus taking 10 minutes, right? On your
to write an
like how do I
email.
write something that gets my excitement out? It's like you don't have to. Just be excited, right?
And
Send yourself.
yeah.
Put yourself out
And
there.
then and that's another thing that will, you know, seep through the message
Yeah.
is, oh wow, this guy's really fucking passionate
Yeah.
about messaging. I should really chat with
Yeah.
him.
But that was
But
that was what that kind of the
sorry,
self-serving answer. The other answer
I mean, it makes sense.
outside of the tool. And this is the advice I give a ton of companies because I advise a bunch of startups and of course have seen that journey. Which to me let me frame it this way: the three things I always look at if anybody asks me to go invest in something, right? It's number one, and I think you have to be able to answer these three questions, right, very succinctly and very confidently. So number one is, are you going after a very big market with an unserved need, right? Like and whether you call it the TAM or the SAM or whatever it is, like is there some huge problem you're trying to go solve, right? And you have a way to go solve it, right? For us, I mean, literally, I have a vision of, there's 5 billion emails sent an hour in business. I think about 1 billion of them should come into this form. So like people are like, okay, that's a
Wow.
really big idea, right? The second one is, do you have a strategy to win? So I think convincing someone there's a big market, you're like, okay, great. Now, like, what's your product vision? What's your strategic approach? What's your distribution, right? Can you articulate what that is? And some of it you might not know, and so then it's talking about a process to get to it. But
Hmm.
is there a believable arc, right, for how you're going to go do that? And then the third one is, do you have the team and capabilities to go do? So big market, strategy to win. Do I believe that you can actually mobilize the resources to do it? For me, that unlocks a huge chunk, or I think unlocks. Yeah, for me, it unlocks a huge chunk of interest.
Yeah,
I think whether or not they use that terminology, I think a lot of investors will have that
that's true.
implied in
Yeah,
their
it's just
underlying
about
frame.
makes a lot of sense, and I can see this was not your first rodeo, and so I'm sure that really helped as well.
Yeah.
Um, well, okay, let's move into more of the marketing stuff. And obviously, you're gonna bake virality into the
Yeah.
product, but it looks like you want to go to market through more of a B2B strategy, and then like let some individual people start using it. And I think that's really the secret sauce for most B2B SaaS companies. I mean,
Hmm.
you have your freelancers, your free plan users that will
Yep.
use it,
Yep.
that will slowly adopt it into other people in their network. But, the way to get tons of users is to go after enterprise and big
Yeah.
companies. What's the pricing like for this before I ask you and grill you on the marketing
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah. So we, in some ways, we're bounded by other communication platforms. So yeah, we have
Right.
a free version which you can come in. You can send 5 videos a month. You can play around with not all of the functionality, but right, a decent chunk of the functionality. And these are all kind of if you commit to yearly numbers. If you commit to a yearly at the
Right.
next tier, which is our professional tier, that basically comes down to $9 a month, right? So it's
Nice.
super affordable. That gives you
Yep.
access to more functions, more features. We have a business version, which comes down to $29 a month, and then we have enterprise, which will go above that depending on
Yeah.
how deeply we're integrating into your infrastructure. So
So
similar to a lot of the
yeah,
communication platforms that are
standard.
out
I
there.
just wanted to make sure it's low enough price point that it's not going to be crazy for one individual to
Yeah.
try and test it out and become that champion
Yep.
that you mentioned. So that makes sense because if it's life changing, $10, all right, I'll try it out. And then if it really blows me away, I'm going to become a huge advocate and go on
Yeah.
social media and tell the world about it. And if it was $99, you're not going to get to that billion emails very
Yes.
quickly that you mentioned. And so I think that's key. Um, and so with the companies though, am I paying per seat, like pay employee that's using it? That's how you would charge me?
Yeah, right now it's a per seat version, but on
Okay.
the enterprise side, we're having discussions now with folks that are saying like, oh my God, like my entire company could. I was like, yeah,
Company.
your entire company could use this. In which case, we would do more like an enterprise license, custom enterprise license
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. And do you have case studies yet of how this improved XYZ at companies?
And it's the tricky part for us is yeah, and it's across such a wide spectrum that we are still in that process of figuring out like which of these vectors for
Industries?
growth do we want
Right.
to latch into. It's very clear in my mind, long term, this is a horizontal platform as ubiquitous as email or Slack or
Yeah.
Zoom, right? It's
Yeah.
like a foundational way to communicate. And then for us on the marketing side, our
Wow.
interesting path is or challenge is, wow, there's interesting use cases everywhere. And so like which
Yeah.
of these segments do we like best to start the engine and start the motion? That's exactly where we are
Yeah.
now um,
Okay.
with our marketing
Well, I
journey.
think we can chat a little bit about this. Let's workshop it. If you're saying that we're like Zoom, then the Zoom's playbook is out there. It's in the public. We
Hmm.
can say, how did Zoom, make companies more efficient, and then case studies like that, and also really just taking the guesswork out of it, Victor, and going and speaking to early
Yep.
customers that are getting it. Anytime I'm sure you're already working with some companies that have like a logo. It also we use it as like a sales tactic, like when you're working those enterprise deals. Hey, my CMO said I can give you a discount if you guys participate in a case study, and then they
Yep.
give you the content. Hey, we actually saw this result. We saw this
Yeah.
result. You can kind of seed it. I mean, like the thing I think, like as a person that works with a lot of teams, if it could reduce the time to getting a response,
Yeah.
that would be a data point that would be really interesting because the velocity of everything is exponentially increased if over the entire organization the response time is reduced
Yes.
by 80% or 70%. Maybe probably total number of messaging is another KPI that's interesting
Hmm.
because I have to send 5 Slack messages to get one email
Yes.
across. I have to send 3 emails to get one Zoom call across. I have to have 3 Zoom calls to be equivalent to one meeting. If I can eradicate all of that extra noise and get down to boom boom back and forth to Emovids, then I mean you've got a
No,
hell of a
actually,
case
it's
study
funny.
there.
It's funny that you bring that up because that was so when I in my first vision with my chief product officer hat on was efficiency in email, right? Like the average person spends 5 hours in email. We have people that are saving. I probably personally I save 10 hours a week, I'd say on average, that has come out
Yeah.
of email because it's just so much faster, right?
Yeah.
So that was always my vision, right? That like the time savings efficiency is off the charts. What I didn't
Hmm.
understand was there's meeting efficiency that comes out to your point,
Of
right?
course.
Because there's like half-hour meetings that today, because you have this huge gap between email and Zoom, it's like we can't resolve this over a bunch of back and forth emails, right? It's not the right channel, it's not enough trust building, right? And so then now the de facto without us is great. Can we get a 15 or 30-minute meeting on deck? It's like, yeah, you can do that in 2 weeks, right? And so what was cool for me to see was people are starting like, hey, like I didn't need to do that meeting. Like exactly like you said, we just sent 2 or 3 messages back and forth, and in 48 hours, 24 hours, like we resolved it,
It got done
and it got done,
asynchronously.
and we
Yeah.
saved the meeting, and we saved all the. And so it's like, oh my god, this is like a crazy new value prong that comes out that I wasn't expecting, but
Absolutely.
you're exactly spot on.
No, no, it does make sense, and I think like it does take an organization shifting to doing that to really quantify it. But I think that's another KPI: meetings avoided,
Yeah.
because but it's not as big of a deal because it's not the end result. The end result is shit gets done faster,
Hmm.
right? And so it does, because you can say, the lead time to solving problems got reduced by this, but
Bingo.
it's hard to quantify that because that 2 week meeting ahead reduced to 48 hours. So problems get solved on average 10x
Yeah.
faster. Okay, but if I can actually show our communication to solving things went down. And so I think that's a more important KPI, is the reduction in wasted
Yep.
time. And you want to be able to quantify it, but overall it's the time
It is.
savings.
Yeah, we actually have built
And
in. We just launched this a couple of weeks ago, though we had it working for quite a while. There's literally a time tracker, right? Because we know the average
nice.
time that a person spends on email. We know that
Yeah.
based on like verbal amount of in a transcript. We know how much time you spend recording, right? So we actually have a calculation which says like, hey, right, yeah, roughly you're probably spending this many days, this many hours. I think I'm up to some crazy number of days, like.
How much you saved.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good,
yeah.
because that, obviously there, that you can drive more of that virality from the product. So you hit a double digit figure for the first time. We push you to social media to share that. We give you a badge. We gamify you. We make you the number one most time saving person in the organization.
Bingo.
And then they win something from the company. There's a bunch of ways to generate marketing juice out of
Yeah.
that. So sounds like you're already thinking about it, so I won't harp on it too
No,
much.
that's exactly
But
right. Yeah, I've saved like
you know,
36 days, 36 working
36
days.
days.
36 days of time have
Amazing.
been freed up for me, which is,
And
yeah,
man, in the free plan, I mean, I'm literally overflowing with ideas, so I'm trying to keep it all
good.
together. But in the free plan, are the videos watermarked?
So we have this really cool patented technology around authenticity and authentication, which is, and the vision for this is simple, which is in this new world of AI, we are not going to know what is real and what is not. We're not going to know whether even videos, it's going to be like, was that a deep fake? Like, is that a real? Is that Victor really talking or
It's
not? And so
totally.
when you get a video from our system, there is a little watermark or seal that shows up that basically says, look, this is Victor or this is Andrew. So
You
from an
can trust it.
authentication perspective,
Yeah, yeah.
identity perspective, right? We'll tell you, but then we take it a step further, which is from an authenticity perspective. So we'll even say, hey, in this video, like that's not his background. Like he actually modified the background, and we'll make that transparent. And when we
That's
add
cool.
things like AI to maybe make you look a little bit better, like we're going to be very transparent with that. So it's a
Yeah,
dual use or maybe a
got it.
tri-use watermark.
Interesting. Okay, well, I was thinking just from a marketing point of view, you want to get that person off of that free plan. I think 5 is the right
Oh, sorry. You're saying
number.
like an Emovid watermark? Yeah.
No, but either way, it doesn't matter. I mean, I was just thinking, one of the problems that companies have with like those free plan is just getting them to move forwards. Like, I used this company for like 10 years for free. And what is it? Mailsuite.com. They
Mm,
just give you everything for free. Shout out to Mailsuite, but I literally have never paid you $1 in 10 years of using the product. How can you give everything for
yeah.
free? It's insane. So I often have trouble getting CEOs. Hey, reduce that to only 5
Yeah.
videos. Oh no, I want to make sure that they get a lot of value. Yeah, but you have a cost to those, and
Yes.
those profiles, like depending on how your marketers grow the company, like if they do a lot of SEO and a lot of paid advertising, you're going to get a lot of the small
Yep.
individual people that come in for free, as opposed to if you grow it through PR and outreach and like sales led growth. And it sounds like you already got the PLG stuff on lock, but let's talk about that sales led growth stuff. I mean, like from a marketing point of view, how are you guys acquiring the meetings with those companies? Because it's kind of a problem that they might not think they have to work on.
Yeah.
Like it would be cool, but we're putting out this fire right now, Victor. We can't really focus on improving the way we all communicate.
Yeah.
Like I could see them being scared to even have the conversation because they don't want to have to teach every employee how to use a new software.
Yeah.
And that's often been an issue for similar targeted projects.
Yeah,
that I've worked on.
no, for sure. So we're with this funding round, we're just kicking off. So we don't have our full spectrum of marketing channels running. We're actually doing, there's kind of a smaller subset that we're going to test out in the beginning. But I think the short answer to that, and we have direct, search engine, search traffic that we're starting to bring in. We have, direct reach out, lead generation, right? So all the standard stuff you'd expect to be put in at this stage of a SaaS business. But I think my direct answer to your question is people are desperate. Almost everyone we talk to is desperate to understand what AI tool, like they know AI is here and there's like a gazillion tools and they're like, I don't know what actually has an impact. I don't know what's fluff. I don't know what's real. I don't like, it's just overwhelming. And so I think we get a huge amount of resonance because we say like, one, it's easy to understand, right? It's like we send them a message. It's like, oh, look, do you want to be able to do that? They're like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like this would be efficient. And they see how AI like supplement. We call this AI enabled, right? So it's like, yeah, it's got a transcript and a summary. I get that AI is working there, but like the core product is not AI per se, right? The core product is a communication platform, which people viscerally understand. So that I think is helpful. And then I think the second dimension is I think people are craving a new way of communication. They feel, to your point, they feel these agents starting to take over. They know they're getting more and more email where they're like, that was an AI, right? And so in the back of their mind, they're like, there is a huge problem with how we're communicating, but they don't know how to solve it. And so when we say like, no, we know. One thing I think I've always been blessed with is I can kind of see
a little
bit ahead, and I'm like,
me too.
This is kind of where it's going. This is the solution. This is going to be the next generation, right? Of how we communicate in a trusted, authenticated way. And so
because everything else could be fake. You can't fake it if it's a verified video of yourself.
Bingo.
That's cool. I don't know if I love the SEO stuff. I don't think, what I want to explain to you is whenever I work with a founder that is as passionate about how big the problem they're solving is that you're working on, I go immediately to PR. Yeah. You already got a lot of PR juice out of the round. That's easy. Sounds like you have a lot of really legit connections. Yeah. That could make it easy as well. But, the problem right now, like email is dead. Doesn't work anymore because of AI. This is a real story that the media would pick up, and you would be the expert to talk about, because you can try and promote your company all day, but if you have a real authentic story that actually makes sense. So in the age of AI, email is finally dead as of 2025 after 25 years or whatever. Email's dead. Is this the new way we're going to be communicating forever as employees? So I think PR makes a really big sense for you to focus on. You don't necessarily need to pay an agency. You can craft a really good story, like 20% from ChatGPT, and then edit it. And then shipping it out to the media is literally just building a Rolodex of contacts, which you already got, but I'll just hack it for you real quick. I literally tell founders to set up Google Alerts from now till forever. And every day for 10 minutes, you just grab news articles that you think are somewhat relevant. So email software news, or, B2B startup does this or whatever the keyword is, Google will feed you articles that are being written by people. And on every single article is a clickable name of the author. And then it usually has their Twitter, their Signal, or their email. It's below your pay grade, but a marketing intern or anybody on the company can build that list over the next month or two. And then, hey, Victor, we have 500 really targeted emails, and I wrote this press release. about how we're the future biggest way that employees will be communicating in 2050 or
Yeah.
whatever, but now it's available. Um, and the PR is great for two things. One, it brings a lot of inbound, right? There'll be people,
Yep.
there'll be a large influx of those free trial users that then move up. Sometimes as much as like 10,000, 20,000 signups in a day from a really good like Wall Street Journal
Yeah.
or Forbes article. Entrepreneur also drives a lot. And it's easier than you think. You don't need to pay anything. There's so many scammers that
Yeah.
email. I mean, they're real marketing tools, but I mean, people, but they'll reach out. Hey, $4,500, I'll get you on. It's so much better when you organically earn the media, like than paying for it. So I'd never advocate for that.
Yeah.
But the second thing that people don't realize is all of those salespeople doing the outreach that are trying to pitch to those enterprise clients and stuff, it becomes twice as easy with a much shorter sales cycle. Yes, sending the video will absolutely impress people, but if they read it in a trusted source
Yep.
that, oh my God, this other company's talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, this other huge publication is talking about it. We got to jump on this bandwagon, and I think that really helps a lot when you do outreach versus being unknown.
Yeah.
You've got some media related to the fundraising round, but so PR sticks out to me as
Yeah.
being really
Totally
valuable for
agree.
you. Have you? Yeah,
Totally agree.
I think you could really crush it in there. I
Yeah.
mean, because you have this passion for it, and a lot of founders talk about, oh, this is going to be the big thing, but I'm like, with this thing, it's either going to change the world or it's going to fail, like one way
Yeah.
or the other.
Yeah.
And so it's not like going to be a few companies are going to use this thing. Once you have proof that it does XYZ
Yeah.
faster, it's lights out at that point. Then it becomes speaking at conferences on productivity and the future of work, and like that's a pretty easy halo effect of getting those
Yeah.
big articles in the PR. So once you're quoted or there's an article, it's pretty easy to then get you in all those other
Yeah.
podcast interviews and stuff. I mean, this isn't a super targeted. Thank you for being here anyway. I mean, but you go on. You should really be focusing around the future of work. That
Yep.
is, most people are scrambling to talk about, like you said, like AI tools you should use. You're talking about how to fix communication for 5 billion people.
Yeah.
It's a much bigger part of the future of work that not a lot of people can talk about. Who else is
Yeah.
innovating for the future of work? I mean, we had a client in the productivity space that was a Slack plugin that would poll every employee every day on their emotional wellness and then like feed that data to a manager. And even that was transformative for
Yeah.
the companies. And we pitched him to conferences and he got to talk and stuff, and then he exited. But this is 100,000 times bigger than that. And so PR cannot be understated how important it will be for you guys, and
Yep.
it will make everything else easier
Yeah.
because the name is big. Then it's Googleable. People reach out. They get a message from someone reaching out,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Oh shit, yeah, we want to work that." So I
Yeah.
think that's important. And then I think really just doing LinkedIn outreach. I say this. It's probably the only thing I mention almost every podcast,
Hmm.
but it still really works because it grows the founder's audience. And so if you start doing PR and presenting yourself as a forward thinker in the future of work,
Yep.
and your LinkedIn starts growing, then you start getting invited to those
Yeah.
conferences. So you get some conversions from it,
Hmm.
but it's also just about growing your audience.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of different softwares that do LinkedIn automated outreach. And I think that would be something good for you to focus on. Have you done anything like that, or
Yeah. Yeah.
are
Yeah.
you
No.
doing the sales yourself, or is somebody else
No,
selling
no,
those?
no, no. We've got a head of revenue who joined us like 4 or 5 months ago, who's
Nice.
built up a 100+ mil business. So he's
That's
we're
legit.
brought in the people to go scale. Basically, we're starting to do that with this
There,
round. But no, on
that
the
makes
PR
sense.
front. So one, I totally agree. The other key thing is, so there's this message around future of work, but there's also the primary reason that I'm doing this right after Evite. I didn't think I'd be doing a startup, right? But I'm on this very important journey, which is I think our technology leaders, the vast majority of them, are not operating as citizens in how they shepherd their businesses and how they think about
Hmm.
technology, right? We have a lot of what I call business mercenaries running technology
Hmm.
companies, and they claim that they're out to try to do something good and balance their stakeholders and treat their employees and customers as equal to shareholders, right? But at the end of the day, they don't, right? They're still
No.
some of them are, affect like literally burning down parts of the world, and they're like, oh, that's not my problem, right? And with AI, this
Yeah.
is just going to get even worse because the ability for these systems to do harm over time. And I'm not talking about, Terminator nuclear war harm. I'm just saying like there are serious implications for how we're changing communication. Like what happens in a world where agentic systems are reading and writing all of our emails, or the vast majority of it, right? It's like, is that a good
Mm.
world? It's a good world for some things, for some transactional things, super efficient, right? But do we really want to operate in a world where we don't have like strong connections with people? It's like, of course not, right? Of course not. And so
Wow.
that's the other thing. I'm like, look, we could build AI, we can enable AI systems that, on one hand, what I call amplify humans, right? Give them superpowers. That's what we've built, right? It's like multiply yourself in an authentic way that actually builds deeper connection at high scale. Or we can build AI systems that just eliminate your role and make you unnecessary. And we can build both. Both can be great businesses. But I'm like, why don't we
Yeah.
focus on the first one first?
Yeah. Let's help people instead of
Let's help people
eradicating
before we
use
get
for
rid of
those
them all,
humans.
right? Because they're
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
problems that need to be solved. And oh, by the way, if we are going to build something that gets rid of a bunch of jobs, then why don't you be responsible for that downstream impact, right? So,
Yeah.
great example I have is I think one of the first industry segments to get absolutely decimated in terms of work is going to be call center and support
Yeah.
systems, right? So I'm like, okay, great. Maybe
Absolutely.
that is transactional, right? Maybe that doesn't need to, maybe that should be automated, but
Right.
hey, industry, like I don't know how many hundreds of companies, right, are building AI support systems. There's a bunch. I'm like, why don't
Oh
you guys
yeah.
band together as a consortium and go figure out how to reskill a bunch of those workers, right? Why don't you funnel some of that profit into dealing with the second order impact that you've created? Because no one else is going to do it, right? Like otherwise, you're
No.
just going to like let these people like float into the world without jobs. Say good luck, right? It's like, well, you kind of know more about them. You know what their skills are. Like, just do the right thing,
Funny.
right? Be a citizen. Be a citizen in the planet as
Yeah.
you scale your business.
Interesting you're talking about that. I had a call yesterday with a guy that's starting a university for reskilling software developers because he believes
Ooh,
in 3 to 5 years there'll be 25 million software developers that are unemployed, and they're the segment of the population that have been had massages from companies in their office and been paid the highest
yeah,
salaries and whatever. So they're absolutely not ready for what's coming to them.
yeah,
And so it does make sense. And I do think that there will be some kind of consortium of companies, at least for PR and good marketing, saying
yeah,
that they're trying to do good. But I honestly, man, everything you say just screams big PR push
yeah,
behind you, because I think like not many people are having this positive thing to say. I mean, AI is getting outside of San Francisco, AI gets a lot of negative
yeah.
attention in the media. It's going to end you, it's going to kill you. I'm originally from Ohio.
Oh, me
I
too.
was back visiting. Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I was
No
born
way.
born
Where?
outside of Cleveland, Painesville. Do you
Oh,
know
okay.
Painesville?
Yeah. Wow. I'm from Dublin, Ohio. If you ever heard
Yeah,
of
yeah,
that
yeah.
outside of
Oh yeah.
Columbus. Yeah. Wow. Look
Go
at us, man.
Buckeyes,
We
man.
made it. Yeah.
Buckeyes.
I mean, I don't care about sports at all, but I did when I was growing up. I was so brainwashed into that, but it's just another religion. But that's another podcast. Welcome to my cult.com. No, I'm kidding. But uh, what I mean was, I when I go home to visit, most people are still not using AI
Yeah.
at all, and they're like, no, 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 I'm gonna get expelled from school if I use it, or no, 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 I don't want it to have all my data. And I'm like, wow, okay, you are going to be hurting
Yes.
in the future when it's like avoiding using a cell phone until the
Yeah.
very end, when you had to have one
Yep.
or something and then you were behind on the tech. So that's worrying. But I want to focus the conversation. It sounds like you guys have a lot covered already, and hopefully that I started a little bit of a PR conversation there.
Yeah.
But coming into this, you're meeting with this marketing guy that's done some stuff, blah blah blah. Like, what is a bottleneck for you marketing wise? Like, what challenges are you having marketing and growth wise that I might be able to try and solve for you before I
It's a
let you
great. I
go?
mean, we're still very early in our journey. Like we literally just turned on our full pricing tiers last month, right? So we're
Congrats.
we're just we're just at that earliest stage, right, in terms of really starting to kind of push volume through. I think the biggest challenge that we might have is the fact that that our product, I don't even want to call it, it's much more than a tool. The fact that what
Good.
we have
Good man.
built, right, can be used in so many ways, but it does require you to kind of grok what it does, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of meshing the most impactful use case for you versus what we're providing, I think is going to be, I'm guessing will be a challenge for us.
Yeah, I agree. And it was difficult for me in less than 30 seconds to grasp what it was. I mean, like, because it's that passion that you have. It's like, we're going to change the world, but like, you have to simplify it for the
Yeah.
individual person that's on the site. And so I do think the best way to do that is just messaging tests.
Yeah.
And I like doing that organically. Like, this chief revenue person, hey, I want you to reach out to 500 companies with 5 different messages that are wildly different about what we do, even though it's the same product.
Yeah.
And you start to see what resonates, and then you surface that up on the website, and you just need to simplify it. I think, in my opinion, having worked with 100 plus SaaS companies, just removing the mission from the top above the fold and from that first message, and taking that out completely until you meet with people, and more just focusing on the value proposition. Like, skip 90% of your meetings and get things done 10 times faster.
Yeah.
Like, what? I gotta, like, that's going to convert a lot
Yeah.
more than, the next way that we'll all communicate. It's too much for my brain to grasp.
Yep.
And so I think simplifying the messaging, but again, not just trusting some bald loser marketer podcast guy and actually going out and testing it
Yeah.
with outreach is really the way. I think if you reach, and, people often try to tell me, no, that automated LinkedIn or automated emailing doesn't work. Like, you're right about email. It's completely ruined by AI now. But if you send a one-liner text only that says, hey, Andrew, and not hello, dear sir, madam,
Yep.
to whom it may concern. If it's like, hey, Andrew, I saw you're running a team. If I could tell you I could help you guys skip 90% of your meetings with just a simple tech that it doesn't even need to be installed, would that be interesting? And people will go like, it's probably 15%, 20% that would be like, yeah, shoot, I'm interested.
Yeah.
It's my job as a technologist to test new tools. I can't be the last person to figure out about that.
Yep.
If I'm running a team. You want to, when you do the outreach, you want to, you're going to try top down and hit a CEO, and that person might feed it to the employees, but they respond the least usually.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the medium to bottoms up, those people are going to be your champions that are going to bring it to the meeting and be like, I think I found something, guys, that can really help us. But, I agree with you. I think the hardest thing is they just assume, and I have a lot of qualitative data on this. Everybody assumes that it's just hard to use new things in
Yeah.
the company, and a lot of my experience is like reaching out to HR teams as well, which is kind of maybe who would normally need to okay this. Because everybody's worried that the company's going to be able to spy on them if they use that messaging thing. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you have these hurdles that you have to get over,
Yep.
but it's unique to your company. And so regardless of what phase you're in, you just got to really hit the outreach hard. And I tell companies outreach and promotions, because you want, believe it or not, the PR brings people with the shortest sales cycle in. They're like, I already read this article.
Yeah.
I'm sold. I got to use this. And they just come ready to use it. And then the more and more you get those case studies, the more you work those case studies into the outbound and you start closing it. But you'll see what the hurdles are, and then you work that into the messaging and you work that into the product. You got to like remove those friction points. Sounds like you already know. I know you've been through this a bunch before, but
No, but it's always there's the theory of it, and then there's the practice, and there's the sequencing of it, right? Which especially at a startup, right? It's like, well, you gotta,
what do you do?
What's the exactly? What's the right sequence? One of the hardest problems.
I'm overconfident about that. I have done it so much. I think the sequence is you do the PR immediately, because it's just first mover advantage. You want to be on record as being the person that said it 5 years before it ended the world or whatever. It's like, wow, Victor Cho really said that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then start the conversation, start getting those companies to start taking care of their employees, like all the stuff that you mentioned. It's really like, there's lots of people giving their opinion on what AI will do, but nobody's really talking about the problem that you mentioned. I'm in these conversations every day, and nobody's mentioned the fact that AI is destroying our ability to communicate as humans and ability to know if we're getting a real message. Like, I had an argument with a coworker. A nice Slack message argument with a coworker today, because he's using AI to refine his emails. And it's super obvious to me because it says he has a signature, but it says best name and then a signature. I'm like, remove the best and name part at least. And he's like, no. He's like, no. It's fine. Trust me. You're the only person that notices. I'm like, no, I'm the only person that will tell you it looks bad. You don't want people to notice, especially a prospect we're trying to work with for hundreds of thousands of dollars, that you're just casually writing your emails with
Yeah.
your
Yes.
Grok or Chat GPT
Yes.
or Gemini or whatever it is. And
It's
so I think you're
exactly where it's headed, right? It's so funny now. I'm
everyone's
starting
just AI to AI
and I'm
talking
starting
to
to
each
yeah,
other.
and I'm starting to get these messages now, and this is like this recursively funny, where it's like, hey, this mail is not written by an AI. This is a human, right? And now
It's
I'm getting,
still
and
an
now I'm
AI,
getting, no,
but
no, and now I'm getting messages where I see that, and I'm like, this was written with an AI. So
yeah,
it's just the AI
yeah,
is deciding, oh, like, oh, that's a way to cut through the noise. If I put that in there, I fool people. So like, again, this comes back to
yeah.
this idea about that. If you say it and I see you and I'm like, this is validated,
You're
it's like,
dead to me. Yeah.
no, no, no. It's like, yeah, this is a real person with a real message.
Oh yeah, no. If you're using
Yeah,
your tool and watermark, yeah. On growth expert side, I also see it right of the corner a little bit. It's my greatest skill in life. I
yeah,
should invest more because early in Bitcoin, that and a couple other things, and had luck. I need to trust myself more.
yeah.
But we're already not doing any automated outreach on email at all. We stopped like a
Perfect.
year ago. We
Yes,
have a full-time human. The scale is much lower, but the deliverability is incredible
yes,
now
yes.
because like you think you're smarter than Google. Of course, they're blocking anything with signals of AI being
That's right.
on there, and so you might be sending tens of thousands of messages, but we're getting 40% open rates in ours, even though
That's awesome.
Irfana on my team is only doing 200 messages per week,
Yeah,
but it's the quality over quantity that is beating that. And so super excited
yeah.
to use your tool. I'm kind of offended you didn't send me a video back when Irfana reached out to you to be on the podcast. I mean, like, yeah, I had to do my own research on you when you could have just sent me a video and then I
I,
would have known how awesome the product is. But I think you should never
yes.
respond in text. You should only be using
Yeah.
video for all of your responses. Like dog food it to the
Yeah, no,
max.
the vast
And
majority of my outbounds and my inbounds. This is a super cool one. This isn't a formal product feature yet, but I have a video inbox. When I get all these solicitations from people, right? I say like, oh, that's cool. Like, tell me about it. I want to see that you're a real person, right? Not some bot. And it's amazing how
interesting.
many
So
people that filters out. But then the people that
yeah,
actually take the time to say like, oh, like, no, I
you'll
am.
look at
Oh,
it.
no, of course. Then we go into this cool async back and forth, right?
Wait, wait. So I email you, hey Victor, I do marketing for startups,
Yeah,
and you're like, okay, tell me on video,
yeah, yeah.
basically,
I was like, yeah, tell
and
me more
then
about it.
they
Like,
go and do it.
tell me
Yeah,
more about it. Like, just give me a couple minutes. Like,
with a link. It's like, hey, I'd love to. Can you send me a video about this? And then it
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
It's cool. I mean, it really is true. Like I probably won't ever write this book because I already wrote a book and it was fun, but it didn't really have much result for me besides money
yeah,
and helping others, which is important. But there's a funnel to everything, and my book that I was going to write was specifically about online dating because I was at Tinder for a while, and I
yeah.
don't think people realize there's a funnel to everything.
Yes.
Only digital marketers know about a funnel all the time and think about it like that. But whether you're job searching, you're looking for a mate
Yep.
or partner or wife or husband,
Yes.
or you are looking to make investments, whatever it is, they're looking to buy a home. There's a funnel for all of it, and with most of that, there's original calls or
Yeah.
messages that lead to calls that lead to due
Yep.
diligence. But and then a video can pass all that. And from a dating perspective, when I was single and I was doing online dating, it's 3-4 messages in, I'd be like, "What's your number? Let's FaceTime." And people would be like, "What? Why?" So I know that you're real, but
Yeah.
also I know that I'm super charismatic on video, and I'm
Yes.
gonna I'm gonna move way down that person's funnel. Also,
Yes.
it really does
Yes.
work. Like
Dude, I think that's a great
I
book.
was,
That's a great book
yeah,
for kids, for young kids. I've got two young daughters.
the dating one.
No, 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 no. This idea this idea that I want to get them out there more. No, no,
No,
this
no,
idea that
no.
everything is a funnel, because this is what I've decided there are many things that our young generation is missing, but the grind of the funnel
Yeah.
is not something
Yes.
that they have experienced a lot of. And so I think
Yes.
that's just fun. I'm gonna steal that for my kids anyway, which is like, no,
No,
like,
no, no, no. You can steal it for your kids, but I am actually working with a publisher on the everything is a funnel, or
I love it.
how to hack.
I
I
love it.
think it's how to hack everything. How everything is a
Yeah,
funnel. I forget the title,
I think
but
it's
I'm
great.
trying to get paid in advance, which is slowing it down. The last book did moderately well. I did that all on my own,
Yeah.
and then so this one I'm trying to get a upfront check on. But anyway, I probably will edit this part out because I don't want
Okay.
anyone to steal that
But dude, I
idea.
love it.
But
I love it. I think
but thank you.
I'm a
That's
big
great.
fan.
I might write that. Really appreciate that. And Victor, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. I'm excited to use the tool. and become a referral agent for you guys. Excited to fix communication and really, yeah, like get this out to the masses, because I really do believe if you really want to make an impact, you got to show yourself. And sounds like that's what you're enabling people to
Yeah.
do. And that doesn't mean just to strangers either. Like if I want to communicate something quickly with my team, I send videos a lot. I use there's a free version of Loom called Vimeo Record, and I just shoot that link out to people. It's
Yeah.
seriously been using that
Yeah.
for almost
Yeah,
10 years. And so I think that this really you will get some incredible
So
case
now
studies.
imagine you had that, but you could get a response back. You could get multiple responses back. This is one of my favorites. I'll send out a message to like thousands of customers and say, hey guys, can you give me some feedback? BCC, multimodal content comes back. And now that's sitting in a mineable AI analyzable pool. I'm like,
Wow.
hey, like what was the net promoter based on the verbatim, right?
Yeah.
Can't wait for
That's
your
really
feedback.
cool.
Yeah, come check it out.
No, and then
Would love
like,
your feedback on it.
absolutely. No, I will do that. You'll send me a link or something to sign up for free and try it out after this call, and I will definitely do that. And yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. All right, Andrew. Hey, man.
That has been another episode of the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by Growth Experts. If you liked this episode, please subscribe. And if you really liked it, please share with other founders and entrepreneurs. Thanks. And we'll see you in the next episode.